Siddhartha by Herman Hesse. Book review. Yeah, how's that pronounced? Herman Hesse? Herman Hesse? So, Siddhartha is one of the names of the Buddha. And I came across this book in a bookstore, and I didn't really know anything about it. But I had, at that time, been interested in learning more of the life about the Buddha. Just because I've always been interested in mythology. I mean, I'm not a Buddhist, but I like to read mythology. I've been interested in Greek myths, and I'm interested in the Old Testament Bible stories, and you know, kind of all that stuff. And everybody knows kind of the basic story of Buddha. But I had spent some years in Japan in which I had kind of become aware that in addition to kind of the basic frame of Buddha, there's a lot of other Buddha stories kind of floating out there. And I had been trying to kind of track down kind of like, you know, a complete compendium of all like the mythology of the Buddha or something like that. Kind of like the, yeah, like a story that would give me a background on all the different mythology of the Buddha. And never really found that. Still kind of looking for that book. I did read parts of the manga series Buddha by Tezuka Osamu, which had elements of that. But yeah, even then I wasn't quite. And some of those stories apparently do come from the old Buddha mythology. But he's taking some liberties with it, and I wanted kind of something a little bit more authentic. So I saw this book, Siddhartha, and I'm like, right. Finally, a book on the mythology of the Buddha. It turns out that wasn't what it was at all. It was an interesting little book. It's just not what I expected. So although Siddhartha is the original name of the Buddha, the Siddhartha in this book is different. He's a different person. His life intersects with the Buddha at various points, but he ends up going off on his own path. To avoid confusion in the book, the real Buddha in the book is referred to as Gautama, which apparently is another name of the Buddha. So, yeah, this was an interesting little book. I wasn't quite sure what to make of it, so I kind of researched some of the criticism of it online. Criticism in the sense of like critical reviews of it. And it's gotten a lot of praise. So people praise the simple biblical-like prose in which Herman Hesse writes. I don't know how it reads in the original German, because Herman Hesse was German, but yeah, in my translation, it does kind of read like the Bible. I actually found that distracting, because, you know, like if I wanted to read something that read in the ancient style, I just read kind of an ancient book. This book was written in the 20th century, so why not make it read like a modern book? That being said, though, it did grow on me as I kept reading. Like I got, you know, it's like any kind of book with a different sort of style. The first few pages, you're like, what is this? But by the time you get into the rhythm of it, then it's all right. The philosophy in this book. Yeah, there's a lot of philosophy in this book. And I'll be honest, I'm not a particularly philosophical person. Like I said, I was hoping to go into this book just to get some more stories about the Buddha. I wasn't really prepared to engage with the philosophy. So I didn't. I didn't put in any of the work to kind of engage with any of the philosophy in the book. Just kind of on the surface level, some of it did seem a little bit overly simplistic to me. Like just kind of giving out platitudes. But again, I didn't really put in the work to kind of seriously engage with this, so I'm not qualified to critique it. So I'm just going to leave it there. It was an interesting read.